Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. One of the definitions of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome, uh, um, doing the same thing over and over. So, this is kind of like the European Union is doing with its sanctions against Russia. I think they're at 10th, 12th, I don't even know, 10th, I think, set of sanctions they will impose on Russia. And it seems like the Russians are still having no problem economically. So let's see what's going on here. This article comes from Sputnik. It is from today, February 15th, 2023, Wednesday. European Union's Borrell admits expected collapse of Russian economy never occurred. Maybe you remember that when the first sanctions were imposed on Russia after the 24th of February 2022, they expected the ruble to just slam the pavement and stay there forever, the Russian economy to go forever gone and never recover. The problem was it didn't happen, or it didn't happen with the ruble. It happened with the ruble for about 48 hours, and then the ruble bounced back. And regarding the economy, Russian economy never happened for 1 year. So what's the solution? More sanctions. So EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell admitted on Wednesday that the collapse of the Russian economy from the impact of European sanctions did not happen as initially predicted in the European Union. I would like to gather all those guys who predicted it and fire them and never recuperate. And you say, well, Emil, didn't you make any mistakes in your life? Well, I made mistakes in my life, but not of that magnitude. They had 50% chance of success or failure. 50%, that's life. That's how it is. Usually in life is 50% probabilities. If you learn probabilities, I think in the 9th grade, where I learned it, then you find out that actually it's about 50-50. So same here. When you have a 50-50 chance, you're not taking a risk. You're just normality, right? Because you can succeed or you can't succeed. Now these guys had just two odds. It was what? 1 out of 2, and they blew it. And based on that information, how many people were hurt? Actually, more on their side than on the Russian side. And I have 2 articles to prove that. Articles actually coming from the Western media. But hey, they don't connect the dots because they don't want us to connect the dots. They want us to be obedient, voters, consumers, and beer drinkers. So let's see what's going on here. And using drugs, so we don't understand what the hell is going on around us. With all this legalization of drugs, I'm for it. Is just go ahead. If it's illegal, just make a fool of yourself. But then, if you're able to support yourself, go ahead. But if you're not able, who do you expect to support you? The state? Do you mean other people's taxes that were taken from them? No, I don't. I don't agree with that one. But that's how it is. Yeah, go and use drugs, use this and that, make it legal in the United States, marijuana and all that. Oh, no, it's safe. It's okay. Well, but are you going to be able to function? Because that creates a dependency. So what are you going to do with that? You're going to stop working. When you go to work, you can't, and then what? Who's going to support you? I don't think so. But they expect that to happen. So let's see what these guys are saying further. So, and I'm quoting, "It is true that Russian economy has not collapsed and that the GDP is not what has been forecast." Bring the economists, the experts, the analysts. "And it is true that last year it got extraordinarily high revenues that came from oil and gas," end quote, Borrell said during a speech at the European Parliament plenary session. Western countries have been seeking ways to limit Russia's income from oil and gas exports, as well as their dependence on Russian fuel since the countries launched a military operation in Ukraine on February 24, 2022. This is why I think those estimates, those predictions were wrong. Because I think the guys who made the prediction in those positions, they have ideologies. They have a certain ideology and they are delusional, which is they are, in this case, I would say they are narcissistic. They think they are the center of the universe, and without them, everybody else will collapse. Actually, there's a big world out there outside of the 40 countries in Europe, Australia, and United States, Japan, and South Korea. They're a big world over there. A big population, big economies, big land masses, and so on. So these guys thought that the Russians, if they will not do business with Russia, Russia will die. This is like, let's say you have a partner, and all of a sudden you say, you know what, I'm leaving you, and when I'm leaving you, you're going to be dying because you can't live without me. And the person just flourishes, and you're like, that's what happens with the narcissists. They think if I leave, you're going to be dying. And then they hate seeing the other person flourishing without them and say, why in the hell? Maybe it was you who kept that person down? I think so. Anyway, so this is the same with these guys. They're wondering how in the hell our predictions were so wrong. Not wrong that, Russia went down, but, not that bad. No. Russia had great revenues, still had profit as A-okay. So that tells me that these predictions were so ideological based, not technical, not professional, ideological. Without them, without us, they're dying, man. Here, cheers. Yeah, I said on rocks, man. That's how they treat these guys. You don't think so? I've been around these kind of people, and that's how they think. I discussed with them. That's how they do. They think they are, and the other ones are baboons. And without us, but they forget that everything they have is made by those baboons, quote unquote. Without that, the drink that they drink, if you take these people and put them in a field and say, okay, start your life, they will be crying and peeing themselves, and you find them over there in a radius of about 100 feet from the spot you left them, dead in a week or so. Why? Because they don't know anything else to do. What to do? They don't know. They have no information or anything else. Nothing. If they can't fool someone to work for them somehow, no, nothing. But anyway, they are the ones that make so much money, and they have influence, and they're the experts. Take these people and let them alone in the woods. Someone asked me one time, what do you think is the worst thing that could happen to you, or something like this? What would be the harshest thing, or something like this? Or what situation? And I said, maybe left alone in woods, somewhere, I don't know where, in Alaska or Yukon or somewhere else, and start from zero and not having anything, just my speedos on. That I think would be the hardest test that I think I would do. Why? Because you have to start from zero. It's you and nobody else. It's you. You can't blame anybody else. You can't say you slacker. You can't make anybody else support you. It's just you. So if you die because you are a loser. You don't know anything. So these experts, they knew a lot. So let's go to the other articles that will tell me how great Europe did in the meantime. This comes from Quartz, and it's from, I think, the 13th. It's from Monday. So Europe has spent more than 800 billion shielding citizens from the energy crisis. So these guys impose sanctions on Russia, and they should shut themselves in the foot with energy. And what they do? They say they spent more than 800 billion shielding. No, that 800 billion was borrowed from international banking systems at a very high interest rates. So it's Europe that spent, that borrow, and guess who's going to pay all that plus interest? The European citizens with their children and grandchildren and so on. So this one is come from MSN, is actually from Reuters. It's a video I'm not going to play. It's just this title. Europe energy crisis spent nearly $850 billion. European countries' bill to shield households and companies from soaring energy costs has climbed to nearly 800 billion euros, or about $850 billion, researchers said on Monday, urging countries to be more targeted in their spending to tackle energy crisis. No, you don't do bullshit, so I can do this. I want to live my life. I don't care what's going on 3,000 miles away from me with those guys beating one another. And if you think that I'm gonna be believing you in saying that then the Russians the next day will be on my doorsteps because I didn't defend Ukraine. No, I don't subscribe to that worldview. I'm sorry. I have a brain and I can read certain things. And this is Francis Maguire reports. I don't know who that is, but unimportant. Anyway, the fact is they impose sanctions on themselves. Hungary kept saying that time and time again. These guys, no. And not only Hungary, they all know it. Not all know it. Some of them knew it from the very beginning, and some of them were deluded. And as I said, narcissistic and delusional, narcissistic and thinking they are the center of the universe. Russia will just die. Russia has a big market out there. And if you cut the Russian supply, you need it from somewhere. Where are you going to get it from? From the guys from over there. If you take it from the guys over there, they're going to need. The demand is going to increase. Who's going to provide the supply? Russia. So it's just a reshuffling, actually. But guess what? You're going to pay more. Why? Because the Russian oil and gas is the cheapest. However you want to take it, gas was the cheapest route straight from the Russians. Now you pay liquefied natural gas from the Americans. What price? And you depend on the Americans now. And don't depend. They all own you anyway. It's clear. It's just in your face. But hey, if you want to be like that, have a slave mentality, go ahead. Don't have a master mentality, as Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher, said. It's up to you. But I don't think people would like that condition for long. You know what I mean? And the strong people of Europe will, make changes. I'm pretty sure. Because I don't think the Germans necessarily want to be under the command of other people they don't really consider better than themselves. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.